Kind of an amusing exchange for those of us on the outside, but not so much maybe for Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks and so many other things. You may know him from Shark Tank. He is, of course, a billionaire, and he has been expressing of late that he loves DEI. He thinks diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are totally fine, and that everyone's getting worked up for no reason, and that diversity makes an organization better. And he said, if you get people together, he says, I choose based on race in the end. He tweeted the other day, I've never hired anyone based exclusively on race, gender, religion. I only ever hire the person that will put my business in the best position to succeed. And yes, race and gender can be a part of the equation. I view diversity as a competitive advantage, he said. To which an EEOC commissioner responded, this is an Equal Employment Opportunity commissioner responded, said this, Mark Cuban, EEOC commissioner here, unfortunately, you're dead wrong on black letter Title VII law. As a general rule, race and sex can't even be a motivating factor, nor a plus factor, a tiebreaker, or a tipping point. It's important employers understand the ground rules here, she said. In other words, what Mark Cuban is admitting to is a crime. For more on this, I want to bring in Ian Pryor now, a senior advisor to America First Legal. He joins us on the phone. Ian, good to talk to you, sir.
Good to talk to you as well.
It is amazing. So how does Mark Cuban arrive at the place where he is very confidently defending racial prejudice as a means of hiring?
Well, I think what he's operating under is the pre-decision from the Supreme Court last year in Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard with respect to admissions into universities where diversity could be considered, but the Supreme Court put an end to that, right? And it was very clear in how it did so. And so, to the extent he thinks, if he's even bothered to read the opinion, that does not apply in the corporate world, I would suggest again go back and read that opinion, because I think the Supreme Court's 6-3 majority was very clear that discrimination is discrimination, and affirmative action is discrimination. It's abhorrent to the Equal Protection Clause and to ultimately will be Title VII.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the quote I think that sticks out for so many, and I think I'm quoting him appropriately, is Chief Justice John Roberts saying, if you want to stop discrimination on the basis of race, stop discriminating on the basis of race.
Well, that's exactly right. And, I think it's interesting that Mark Cuban is talking about the operations of, say, the Dallas Mavericks, but he's certainly not talking about the team, right? Because, nobody picks players for professional sports based on anything but merit. Because if you do, you're not going to be a very popular owner because your team is not going to be very good.
Your team's going to be garbage.
So right? So it's interesting that when it comes to the actual business that he's talking about, say, for example, the Dallas Mavericks, the product that actually makes money, drives revenue for the team, that is selected solely on merit. But the support team, the operations, the front office, the concessions, whatever, right there, he's going to take race into account. What's the difference, Mark? What's the difference?
So I'm grateful that a single EEOC commissioner has spoken up, Andrea Lucas, about this. But I am concerned that there aren't more people who speak up about this. You certainly do, Ian, but it seems like there's a lot of silence and kind of acceptance from our institutions that racial prejudice does actually run rampant in hiring practices, especially in the biggest corporate companies.
Yeah, I can tell you that for sure. At America First Legal, we've actually been filing dozens of complaints to the EEOC on various corporations through America, from Major League Baseball to the airline companies to PricewaterhouseCoopers, who actually have now scaled back their DEI since then. But it really is something that has been in our American corporate system for quite some time.
Yes.
Although we are starting to see that in light of that Supreme Court decision, I think that people are waking up to the fact that, hey, we could find ourselves hauled into court and liable for these policies, especially when they're out there saying that, look, we want to have a more diverse workforce, and then you get a couple of people that they decide to let go or not promote, not based on merit, but because they don't fit the diversity matrix that these companies are looking for.
I mean, look, a good faith explanation of this in part is that the left successfully so manipulated the language that decent people think that they're doing the right thing here by figuring out, looking at like the color of the people who are working for them and saying, oh, this is inclusion. If I diversify through this shallow standard, but I don't think they realize, or at least haven't until now, how much damage they're causing to our country.
Well, it's interesting because we're 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl now, and the Rooney Rule is another interesting study in DEI. It's DEI that's existed for now 21 years. And, this rule is so loathed, not just by, people that look at the NFL and say you should be hiring on the basis of merit, but even minority coaches. Brian Flores brought a lawsuit against the NFL, and in that lawsuit, he says this rule is ridiculous. I end up having to go on sham interviews, and they just end up hiring the person they want to hire. It's not just insulting and abhorrent to our notions of equal protection and equality under the law, but it's demeaning and it's condescending to sit there and say, well, we're going to give you an interview solely because of the color of your skin or your race.
So just to be clear, because the Rooney Rule, it gives racial preference to certain applicants for jobs in the NFL?
Correct. So under the Rooney Rule, if you have a coach opening, whether it's a head coach, whether it's an assistant, offensive coordinator, or even a front office executive, you have to interview somebody that is a minority. You have to do so, even if you don't plan on hiring that person, right? Even if you're like, I'm going to go get Jim Harbaugh from the University of Michigan, I have to go find a minority coach to interview for that position, even if I have no plans on.
What a scam, though. I mean, it's like, so you're going to use, so say you want to hire Jim Harbaugh, and then you're like, but we also have to bring a black guy in and use him as cannon fodder to satisfy this rule?
That's correct. And what else it does is, so if a NFL franchise say develops a coach or a front office executive, and that person leaves for a higher position to another team, the first team gets 2 third-round compensatory picks, which of course is ridiculous if that person who left actually started at some other team, right? I mean, it's insane, and quite frankly, it's illegal, and it's on display for all to see, and our biggest sport.
Wait a second, though. They put end racism on the helmets, so everything's fine, Ian.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's I guess how they want to do it. But I mean, I think it's, like I said, it's condescending and insulting.
Yeah, for sure. So will the word get out, you think, to more corporations that actually hiring on the basis of racial prejudice is literally illegal?
Well, I certainly hope so, and I certainly believe so. I think what you're going to start seeing is lawsuits. I think you're going to start seeing these corporations being taken to court for Title VII actions because of discrimination on the basis of race. And I think these corporations are trying to figure out a way to get around the Supreme Court decision, but ultimately they're not going to be able to, because the core ruling from that case doesn't matter if it's college admissions. It doesn't matter if it's workplace hiring or promotion. It's the same concept. The court in that case specified, at least Gorsuch did in this concurrence, Title VI, Title VII, essentially the same thing. Title VI relates to education. Title VII relates to the workplace. So I would predict that cases that go up to higher courts involving these kind of DEI hirings and promotions are going to find the same result that Harvard and University of North Carolina did last year.
Yeah, and when these companies and organizations try and figure out, quote unquote, creative ways to continue to hire on the basis of race, it ends up being really, just really offensive, honestly, in the way they do it. I'm thinking of at the FAA, it's starting to come out that one of the ways that they were trying to hire applicants was they would ask people what their lowest grade in school was, what lesson was their lowest grade in, and people who answered science were the ones they moved to the front of the pack, and they thought they could find more black applicants if they said that their lowest grade was in science class. This is the insanity of the DEI regime in practice.
Well, I can tell you even more cases. You go to Hollywood, and they have programs where they bring in an extra crew person that is a minority to do nothing, basically, right? And so they may have them at one position, say, key grip, and this person is getting paid the same as the key grip to do nothing. They're literally just doubling the position. Meanwhile, the person that, maybe wants that role as key grip, they're sitting there, far down the totem pole, and they're like, well, why can't I get that? This person's making more money doing a position I want to do and actually not doing anything.
It destroys productive organizations, and it breeds resentment. It creates suspicion and doubt. It pits people against each other. Is this really what we want as a country? The answer to that is quite obviously no. Nobody wants that of any color. Ian Pryor, thank you very much for keeping up the fight on behalf of decency over at America First Legal. Good to talk to you today, sir.